Good day everyone, I'm Naomi Von Perez and today I will share with you my presentation for Module 2, Contemporary Literature in Global and Local Contexts. In this module, we explore what contemporary literature is, why it matters, and how it reflects both global and Philippine realities. For my presentation, I will highlight my 10 key takeaways in 4 parts. First, the 3 things I value most from the lessons. Second, the 3 texts that caught my interest. Third, 2 reflections about what this text means to me. And finally, 2 questions that I wish to research further. Through this, I hope to show not only what I learned but also how contemporary literature shapes my understanding of society and identity. The first thing I value learning is that contemporary literature reflects the issues of our time. Unlike older forms of literature that may focus on myth, legends, or distant stories, contemporary works often deal with problems that we're facing now, such as the poverty, migration, digital life, gender struggles, and climate change. This makes literature more relatable and relevant to our everyday experiences. And the second thing I learned is that contemporary literature gives recognition to diverse voices. For a long time, literature was dominated by the voices of elite or by male Western authors. But in contemporary times, writers from marginalized groups are being heard. Women writers, LGBTQ+ writers, indigenous authors, and migrants now contribute powerful stories that reflect real human struggles. This inclusivity makes literature richer and more representative of our society. The third thing I value is the realization that literature is alive in digital age. We no longer read only in books and libraries. Stories can be found in Wattpad, blogs, manga, spoken word poetry on YouTube, even poems posted on Instagram. These new platforms expand what we mean by literature, and they show that literature continues to evolve with society. It is not something distant or old, it is something we experience daily. The first text that really interests me is Dekada 60 by Luwalhati Bautista. This novel gives us a mother's perspective on martial law and how her family was affected by this dictatorship. What makes it powerful is that it shows not only politics but also personal struggles of identity, motherhood, and resistance. I value this book because it reminds us of our history and warns us not to repeat it. The second text that caught my attention is Trece by Budget Tan and Cajo Baldissimo. What excites me about this work is how it mixes Filipino folklore like aswangs and capres with modern crime stories in the city. It's unique because it brings our traditional stories into a new form that younger audiences can relate to. Its adaptation into a Netflix series also shows how Philippine literature can enter global platform. The third text is Americana by Chimamanda Adichie from Nigeria. This novel focuses on migration, race, and identity. I find it interesting because it reflects the struggles of immigrants and their search for belonging. As a Filipino, I see the connection to our own diaspora experience since many Filipinos also live and work abroad. Through Americana, I realized that migration is not only a personal journey but also a universal theme and shared by different countries. My first reflection is that literature truly mirrors society. When I read about martial law in Dekada 60 or corruption in smaller and smaller circles, I realize that literature is not separate from real life. It shows our struggles, our culture, and even our flaws. This makes me see literature not only as art, but a tool for awareness and change. My second reflection is that literature connects us globally. When we study Philippine texts and compare them with global ones, we see that our struggles are not isolated. Issues like identity, migration, and justice are shared by people in other countries too. For example, the experiences in Americana can be compared to Filipino diaspora literature, while the dystopian warnings of Margaret Atwood can be linked to our own fears about technology and environment. This global connection proves that literature is a conversation among nations and Philippines is part of that dialogue. The first question I want to research is how does Wattpad affect youth culture and identity in the Philippines? Wattpad has become a huge platform where young writers publish love stories, dramas, and fantasy works, and many Filipino teenagers read them, and some of the stories are even adapted into the movies. I want to know if this helps young people to develop creativity and reading habits, or if it's changed just how they see relationship and values. And the second question I want to explore is how do Filipino diaspora writers compare with other Asian writers? Because many Filipino abroad write about their struggles with homesickness, discrimination, or identity, and I am curious to see how similar or different they are from, for example, Indian or Chinese diaspora writers. This comparison can help us understand the Philippine experiences in a larger Asian and global context. To conclude, my biggest revelation is that contemporary literature is alive, diverse, and relevant. It is alive because it evolves with technology and continues to shape our culture. It is diverse because it gives us a voice to many groups that were once ignored. And it is relevant because it reflects the issues and realities of our time. For me, studying contemporary literature is not just about reading stories, it is about seeing ourselves in those stories and learning from the experiences from others. It connects us with our past, our present, and even with people across the world. With that, thank you for listening, and I hope my takeaways encourage you to also see literature as a living text that speaks to all of us today.